Look, I want to support the bill in principle. I believe that it will unclog an issue that is there in the planning process. But I want to raise, because Deputy Stanley has spoken about this before me, but I was out on a roadway last night between Kilkenny and Durrow, and I was looking at the problem of the wind farms that will be behind the 15 houses along our stretch of that roadway, and also in front of those houses on the same roadway. Now, what struck me about the meeting was it was quite constructive, but the cards are stacked against local communities. So whether you're for or against wind farms or wind energy, and I have to say that it is okay in the right place, but it was not okay, and it is not okay at that location, because of how close the windmills are to the houses, and in the front and the back, as I've said. And when you take into account the cabling and so on, then it is a real issue. So the community is faced with going the full round with the developers. There is little or no assistance in terms of allowing the community to put together its case and to pursue the very genuine complaints that they have about what is happening. And essentially, the system is pitching neighbour against neighbour and communities against each other. And where you're crossing into a different county, or a number of counties that are concerned around this issue, you have to take into consideration what one planning authority is doing and what the other one is doing. You can't take these farms in isolation. And I want to ask you, Minister, in relation to the 2006 regulations or guidelines, when is the government going to set out the guidelines to give communities a reasonable level playing field? Or what is happening? Because the cost that's being pushed upon communities in this regard, the extent is too much. The extent that they have to go to in relation to protecting the quality of life that they enjoy. And the fact that it can then end up in Bord Pleanála, it clogs up Bord Pleanála, it takes away really a democratic right of the individuals concerned to raise an objection and to be able to do it without being put into enormous debt in doing so. So I would ask you, Minister, and other members of the House, Deputy Stanley has a bill before us. Let that be the bill that will cause the general discussion or debate here in this House, and let the government amend it if they so will. But let us set out a course to protect the communities that we serve, instead of what we're doing currently, which is alienating them. The blockages in housing goes down, certainly in my constituency of Carlow and Kilkenny, it goes down to the obstacles that are being placed in the way by Irish Water. You can't get planning permission, you can't develop the small towns and villages, you can't have a community with a little bit of vision that wants to do something without going through the likes of Irish Water. So that's one area that you could easily deal with in terms of funding the various infrastructure needs that are there. Rezoning of lands. For example, in Kilkenny there is a housing estate, let's say it's made up of 100 houses in the beginning. Developer puts in all the infrastructure for the 100 houses and he builds 50. And lo and behold, the council dezoned the land. So he's left then with a part of his investment, a part of his land that cannot be developed. I mean, where is the sense in that? Where is the sense in it? It's just ridiculous. And now currently we're crying out for houses. That site is there and nothing is being done to alleviate that particular problem, and I'm sure there's many more examples of that right across the country. Towns and villages like, I could take Johnstown, Urlingford or Innisteag, beautiful places to live in, and many others, and they can't move ahead with their developments. And the planning laws are so complex and complicated now. We've made them so in terms of the 2024 legislation. And now we're going to introduce these amendments this bill and other amendments, and even amendments that are not down for discussion. They're going to be taken in the Shannon. It isn't right that we would rush through this. We are damaging the communities, and we're alienating again the people that we represent. We were promised in the modular homes and the log cabins that something would be done to ensure that they would get planning permission or be allowed to go ahead with certain regulations, perhaps without the formal planning application being made. And what's happening now is those that have log cabins, that have tried to accommodate themselves on their own land or their parents' land, are now being brought before the planning authority and having to defend themselves there, and being threatened to be removed from the site or removed from the log cabin. Again, Minister, it isn't right. It seems to me that it's all stacked in favour of the developers to give them the break without considering the people that are trying to accommodate themselves and so on. I'll finish on this note, by saying that what I've heard about the new design guidelines, the smaller apartments, I'm shocked by it. Because if we are to build communities and sustainable families and communities, then they have to be allowed to live like normal human beings.
Thanks, Deputy McGuinness.